Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today is another very special day because as you can see, I have the keys to the 992 Porsche GT3. We're here in my home country driving to the highest point in Austria. Now, the 911 GT3 is considered by many to be one of the greatest sports cars in the world. If you ask rival manufacturers what car they compare their cars to or what car they admire, they often cite the 911 GT3. So today, we're gonna see if the 992 GT3 lives up to that name of the world's greatest sports car. Let's go.
The 992 GT3 continues the tradition of transferring what Porsche learns on the racetrack directly to their cars, and it's ever more apparent in the 992 GT3. The naturally aspirated 4-liter 6-cylinder Boxster engine is virtually identical to the unit found in the 911 GT3 Cup race car. It makes 502 horsepower and 347 pound-feet of torque. This new Gen GT3 uses a more extensive application of lightweight materials than ever before and weighs virtually the same as its predecessor at 1,430 kilograms despite its increase in size. The new GT3 narrows the gap between race car and road cars even further with a double wishbone front suspension derived straight from the 911 RSR and GT3 Cup race cars. The GT3 also features adaptable aero with adjustments possible on the front splitter and rear wing to fine-tune for track use. The interior is more techy, although importantly, it still maintains that classic Porsche essence with physical gauges and even a real rev counter with a needle. I absolutely love it. Now, let's see how much I'll love driving the thing.
I'm gonna put this baby right into manual mode and I'm gonna put it into track straight away. So the way you do that is you switch this dial, as I mentioned earlier. Already I just turned it into sport and you can feel how the thing revved up. Now we're in track and I push this dial, center console piece right there, center stick, right over, and we are now in track mode, driving to the highest point in Austria in some sensational back roads. What more do you want? So the first thing I realized with this 992 GT3 is how tight, compact, and well built everything feels. I mean, there's something to say about when you step into a car and all you do is sit in it, you don't even turn it on, and you just feel the build quality. Oh my goodness, this car is unbelievable. So we have a 4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 that makes 502 horsepower and 347 pound-feet of torque. Those aren't massive numbers by today's standards, and it's very interesting because you have to work to get this power. You might already know that this thing revs all the way to 9,000 RPM, and it's extremely interesting because in the lower rev range from around 1,000 to 4,000 RPM, you don't feel much power. Yes, you have this instant throttle response, but it's not a big punch in the back. Now, as I mentioned as well, one of the things that I wanted to say is as soon as I hopped into this car, I felt that this was a freaking race car. Let's rev it out right now, all the way. Wow! Gosh, to listen to that naturally aspirated flat 6 just absolutely scream. Coming into the braking points, the grip is phenomenal. Oh my gosh. Wow, this car is lively, it's up on its toes. To get that power, you really need to use the whole rev range. It is absolutely sensational. We got another tunnel coming up right here. Oh my God! Holy crap!
I'd like to take a quick second of your time If you're ever in Austria and dream of driving some top-notch cars like this to the highest point in Austria on some of the most scenic and best driving roads in the world, well, please check out F-Car's sports car rental in Zell am See, Austria. This video would not have been possible without them, so please go check them out.
These carbon fiber Porsche bucket seats, they're sensational. They hug you like a bear and they make you sit quite low in the cabin, which just gives this car such a sporty feel to it. One thing that I love as well, because you sit low, the view you get out of the cabin, you basically only see these two haunches, these two hips on the hood of the car. Something that is very, very known to Porsche with their look. But oh my goodness, through these corners, the car just sticks. It really just sticks. You know, and to the point I made earlier about the seating position, it's just absolutely perfect for me, for what I like. My elbows are a little bit bent. I have such great visibility. And the front grip this car has is unbelievable. I mean, you just tip the car in and it turns. That's partly because for the first time ever, the 992 GT3 has a front double wishbone suspension. The first front double wishbone suspension ever on a 911. All the way to 9,000. Oh, and the brakes are sensational, phenomenal. Had a little bit of understeer there. That's part of the 911 characteristic right there. You get on the power a little bit too early and the front end is not able to keep up with that. But regardless of that, there's no fault to this car. It's such a great sports car. It's unfreaking believable. And that PDK transmission, it shifts insanely fast. I'm gonna do something for you guys here. I'm gonna build it up all the way to 7th gear here and show you how damn quickly this PDK transmission downshifts. Watch. That's 7 gears within seconds. And then you can just punch it. Wow. It's really interesting as well. There's sort of an induction noise you get as well that you can hear. The engine just sucking up the air. All the acoustics you get from this car are just bloody sensational. To have a naturally aspirated engine that revs to 9,000 RPM is something you gotta be grateful for nowadays. Oh my gosh. All the way to 9,000, boom! Felt the car bouncing a little bit around there under braking. This thing really is, I gotta fly in here, a race car for the road. The transmission, you feel it. This flat 6 naturally aspirated 4-liter engine has virtually all the same components to that of the one found in the 992 GT3 Cup car. So it's shared with a race car and you can hear it. You can feel the vibration even just when you turn this car and you're just sitting. You can feel all the vibrations through your bum, through the seat. And this car does one of the best jobs of connecting me as a driver to the road. It feels like an extension. This car, this steering wheel feels like another limb on my body. And the lateral grip is unbelievable. And it's so much fun because every time you have to blast it all the way up to 9,000 to to really get the full effect of that 503 horsepower. If you gas it at around 3,000 RPM, I'm full throttle. Nothing really happens. That's the beauty of this naturally aspirated engine. You have to work to get the power. Porsche wants you to push the car. Porsche wants you to hear that naturally aspirated flat six. This GT3, out of all the supercars I've driven, has some of the best visibility. And then you just run the thing all the way out to 9,000 RPM. Wow. I want to talk a little bit about the steering because it's very interesting. It's actually quite light. It's not a very heavy steering, and it does have this electronic feel to it, but it is so precise, it is so nimble, and it makes the car feel extremely agile, light on its toes, and I do get a good amount of feedback and input from the road. And those downshifts, man, every time, they're just sensational. And the rasp, the tone of the engine, the more you push it, the louder it gets, the raspier the tone gets, the more ear-piercing it gets, the more soul-piercing it gets. This truly is sports car heaven. Oh my gosh! Unbelievable stuff. I've never driven a car that is so responsive, and it's really tough to get this sensation and this feeling across, which is the fact that this car feels so interconnected. I think because the build quality is so on point, it doesn't feel like this car has multiple different components together and it was put together. It feels like this car just comes as one. It was built as one. We're in a tunnel again, as you guys can see. I'm gonna give it some revs here. Oh my gosh! Wow! Wow! What the heck? Bloody hell! When you have a screaming 4.0 liter naturally aspirated flat six, how could you not do that when you're in a tunnel? And holy crap, look at these views. Guys, I just have to say, GT3 in my home country, Austria, Österreich, at the highest point in Austria, ja, was kann ich sagen? This is ein Traum. This is a dream. This is what dreams are made of. Unfreaking believable. All right, guys, so that is it for the Porsche GT3 992 generation review. This car, I've said it so many times before now throughout this whole trip, these whole 2 days as I've been driving it, but it is absolutely sensational. It is at the top of the list for me now. It's the best sports car / supercar I've ever driven. I personally love cars that make me feel as connected as possible to the road, and this car does that like I've never felt before, and it's so confidence inspiring as well. So I'm not gonna keep blobbing. Without further ado, please browse the channel, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video just as much as I did, and without further ado, I'll be back next time with even better car content.